What is up, everybody? It is Og here, back with another video, and in today's video, we're going to be working on the ZG 17 pack pool. So shout out to Zegers for coming up with the 20 pack pool. It was absolutely incredible what he pulled off, and I'm sure it took a lot of time, so shout out to him. It's absolutely crazy what he does. I stick with the 17 pack personally because I find that it works better for me, and I'll go into why later, but it is absolutely incredible, and so I'll include his link to his channel down below. He has been a massive help in coming up with the farm, but then also giving me some tips and tricks along the way. Also, shout out to Docta, who's helped me along the way as well. He's showed me some couple of tricks here and there, which I'll point out during the video, that have really helped me along with the farm as well, so I'll link down his channel down below. But if you haven't been following the Twitch for the past month, we've been trying to work on this 17 pack pool to try to increase the amount of XP that we could get out of ZG. Honestly, initially I didn't think it was going to be worth it, but after doing it and after figuring out the amount of time that it could take and figuring out the individual XP gains that people could get, it is 100% worth it if you can pull it off in an efficient manner. So I'm going to be showing some tips and tricks for how to do that as well using the Blade of Eternal Darkness. And so the Blade of Eternal Darkness obviously has been under a lot of news lately because they increased the drop chance of it, and so I'll be going into that a little bit more. But it is amazing for this farm, so look forward to that in the video. We're going to get started though with the requirements themselves. We're going to be going through the talents, some consumables that I would recommend for the farm, and then we're going to be jumping into the video itself and go through the full pool. I'm going to get very granular and try to help you out people as much as I can with the farm, but let's jump into it. So before we get started with the run, I want to go over the requirements that you're going to have. So the first requirement is going to be talents. There's really only one talent build that I would recommend for this farm just because it's, an upper level farm. You're going to need a lot of mana, you're going to need a lot of damage mitigation, and you're going to need a lot of points to be able to focus into those. And so you take them out of extra things you might, be able to put other points in normally. So for the Foss tree, for example, we're skipping over Ice Shards and Shatter. We don't need either of those. We're just going to be using Blizzard. We're not going to be using Cone of Cold really or anything like that to do a ton of damage. And we're not going to have the mobs Nova'd that much outside of when we're running from them. So we don't need either of these two talents. Like always, we also don't get Frostbite and Winter's Chill. But then in the Arcane tree, not getting Ice Shards and Shatter opens us up to get the Arcane Meditation talent. So 15% more mana regen, and then also improve Mana Shield, because you will need to use Mana Shield as you run through so you don't get dazed. As far as actual potions, you're going to want to have mana potions. You're going to want to have health potions. You can probably get major healing potions because they're pretty cheap, but I personally just stick with greater mana potions just because they actually are cheap. I'd rather use 2 greater mana potions because it's a long fight than use a superior mana potion or a major mana potion and blow that extra gold just when it's basically the same amount of mana. I would also recommend swim speed potions. Swim speed potions are very useful in the event that the Berserker is in a bad position up at the top of the hill. And then limited invulnerability potions, always good just to have in stock, just on the off chance that you do need to pop one. You definitely are going to need bandages. Highly recommend that, and you'll see exact points where we're going to use bandages throughout the run. And then the last thing is going to be, if you want, you can use, other things like a ZG speed potion. That would be great to have. I don't use it personally in my video. You're going to want to have either Light Feathers or Noggin Fogger Elixir. Personally, I prefer Light Feathers because you don't need to worry about RNG. And then if you want to have extra spirit things, so like Scroll of Spirit, or if you want to have MP5 stuff, so Mage Blood potions, Mana Oil, Scrolls of Spirit, anything like that, feel free to get it. But personally, I try not to use that as much as possible, and so I modify the kill in order to not need that, which you guys are going to see shortly. Okay, so we're going to get kicked off here. I'm going to try to be as comprehensive as possible while also showing the full run and everything like that. So when you get started, the very first thing you want to focus on is how to get your boosties into position so that they are safe. Over on the left here, there's a waterfall right past some axe throwers. The goal is to aggro those axe throwers, drag them away from their location, giving your boosties enough time to get over there. So if you look right here, there's some axe throwers, and then over to the left, there's actually the waterfall. So I'm going to turn around in just a second, and this waterfall right here, right on this rock in the middle, even if they're level 50, they won't pull these axe throwers. So what you do is you aggro these axe throwers, and then you go and you run to a safe spot. Now what I like to do is I like to hug the outside here, run around this pillar, run around the right side of this box, and as long as there's not a pat in the middle, you actually won't aggro any other mobs. And so you don't really take any damage. You get to the safe spot, and once they reset, you're good to go with the rest of the run. So the place where we're running to, there's a bunch of different reset spots. You can jump up onto this post right here, and as long as you're on the left side of here, under this left kind of tooth, or his right tooth, I guess, you're good. But personally, what I like to do is I like to jump up onto these branches. So either on this route, or on this route, you're safe. I like to be on this one though, because we're closer to the Berserker. So what a lot of people don't know is that if a mob is not in your range in this instance, so Berserker Pats or the Axe Thrower packs or something like that, they run at a slower move speed. And so that move speed is typically about 10% of the move speed or somewhere around that range. So they're running really slow. By jumping up onto this far route, we're getting closer to where that Berserker will be so that he comes around the corner quicker. And once he comes around the corner, we grab him. We then immediately run up past Phenoxys on the right to get up to those Axe Throwers. Now, the reason why we did that is the same exact idea. Sometimes those Axe Thrower packs that we just saw and we just marked with a square, for example, are so far up past Phenoxys that they don't actually start running down. And that's where you run into issues where you potentially grab them on the way back and you run into them on your right before your kill phase when you're coming up back around the bridge because they were all the way up the path and then they're just slowly coming down. But by running over and making sure that we see them and activate their full run speed, we can actually wait to start the run until they get into a good position where we know that they're going to be good to go for the rest of the run. So for example, that's what we're doing right here. So right now we're waiting until they get to around the bridge. You don't need to wait until they get exactly there, but anywhere past, right about where they are now is perfectly fine and good to go. Then we just get started with the run. So we're going to use, obviously slow fall. You could use Noggin Fogger if you wanted to, but I personally don't like worrying about the RNG or anything like that. And they end up doing the same thing with this farm. Come over, grab the crocs, and then actually hug the inside of this. And so I like to wait a little bit too. What happens is that the crocs go through the water and then they're stuck at the bottom. So when you run around, you have plenty of room to get around them. Up here, you'll sometimes find a double melee pack of snakes. If it's not double melee, if there's any venom snakes, so the venom are the blue ones, the melee are the brown ones, don't aggro them. Only when they're double melee would I recommend aggroing them, or else you might just take some extra damage from them. And it's going to be a pain dealing with the venom later on. Run into the tigers and group them up and then go around in a circle. Now, when you're grouping them up and going around in a circle, what you want to make sure is you stop every once in a while to try to have them catch up and kind of create a diagonal towards you and then run around in a circle. Now, you might notice that we're waiting here. This Berserker needs to be in a certain position before we're good to go. And so what we're going to do is we're going to wait until that Berserker kind of comes over the edge and makes his turn. So when we turn back here, you can see this Berserker is currently right at this spot. We want him to pretty much be right about here. So coming right over this pillar with the head on it before we start running. Reason being, we want to be able to sneak by him later when we run by him. So that's why we're going to go through an extra loop in the circle here. So again, we're going to come around in a circle, run along the outside, occasionally stop. They reset their calculation on where they're going to be running towards you, and then go around this kind of pillar right there. And now they're all stacked up. The Berserkers far enough, and we are good to start the next part of the run. What we're doing now is we're running straight across, and we're going to just book it to try to get over there. Don't wait and let the mobs catch up to you and things like that. You want to book it straight across. What we're trying to do is we're trying to check these snakes. So there's 3 packs of snakes, one over here, the pats, and one over here. If the snakes are solely melee, you can grab them. So if they're the brown snakes. Now here we have a blue snake, so we can't run over and aggro these mobs. But if it was a brown snake, we could go over, aggro these mobs, and then bring them in with the rest of the mobs and get some extra XP for the boosties, which is awesome. Here there's some brown snakes, but unfortunately the Berserker is not in a great spot where we could kind of go and aggro them. So you could wait for a little bit longer for the Berserker to be further so you can grab them. It's up to you. The downside though of waiting for the Berserker is that there's another Berserker on this side. And so this pat is actually very important, and this is the pat that you really want to focus on. The other Berserker is pretty easy to sneak by and everything like that. You just run around in a circle to sneak by him. This guy, however, he has a very long pat that constantly blocks the entrance to the temple, precluding you from getting the panthers. So what you need to do is you need to be cognizant of his path and then make some adjustments as necessary. His exact pat is that he comes down here, he'll go into the room, come out, come back, go in, and then he'll leave. So it takes about 2 minutes. You're going to have to go through some alternative kind of padding and pathing if he is in there, which I'll show you in just a little bit. But what we're going to do here, because we have enough room to sneak by before he gets there, is we're going to look for these 2 panther packs. There's one outside the temple over here, and then there's going to be one over here. We run over, we aggro these panthers, and what we do is we guide the rest of our mobs to aggro the other panthers. So just make sure that they're kind of in a direct line of where they're going to grab them. Counterspell the blood drinkers on the left to aggro them, jump over the top here, rank 1 fire blast this panther, and then we're going to blink across. I blinked ever so slightly too late, so I did get hit by leeway. Hopefully you wouldn't get hit by leeway at all. Arcane explosion, the 2 panthers up top, and then we come down to the second level. So you now have about 10 seconds before they reset. And so what I like to do is I like to come over here and just bandage a little bit, and then we're going to wand and jump off. So here we're going to wand, jump off, and then we're going to get started with the run. But you can see the berserker, because we're cutting it close, is right there. So we're going to blink past that side. The berserker's aggro range isn't that large. You can get relatively close. You don't want to get really close. And the mobs themselves can get relatively close. But if the mobs run through the berserker, he's pulling. So make sure that you're coming, off the left side if he's coming from the left, or the right side if he's coming from the right. Make sure that they're coming around the extreme side of it so that they don't pull the berserker. But we then actually jump down and slow fall towards the platform. I'm just going to go back a little bit. We're actually going to slow fall down to this platform. So shout out to Docta, who is in my chat and been helping a ton of people, very helpful. And I'll have his YouTube down below as well. But basically, if you slow fall off here, you can kind of do this infinite reset loop spot if you need to. And so that's another way that you can avoid the berserker. And so if the berserker's in a bad spot, if he's about to go into the temple room, you would, instead of going into the temple room, just jump down here and start doing this loop that we're about to do. But you slow fall off here. You can see all the mobs are coming down behind us. And then we have these crocs right here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to run towards those crocs, and we're going to Nova them right here. One resists, but that happens. It's fine. Make sure that you're facing them so you don't get dazed. You run along the outside of this little island right here, aggro these crocs, jump and blink across to the water, so you're pretty much out of the water. And then right in between these two posts right here is actually a reset spot. Now make sure you don't run too far forward into them, or else they could potentially, follow you still. Basically, you won't activate the reset. You'll just kind of climb over it. So make sure you don't go too far. But if you're right in pretty much the middle of this sideways tablet, then you're pretty much good to go. But here you can see that actually I run over them, and then I have to go. So here we have to go. The berserkers aren't in a perfect spot. You can see that the berserker that was in the temple has started to pad out this way, but you can actually sneak by him on the left side. I have some panthers that are near me on the left, so I Nova them, and then I sneak by them, and I'm getting hit by the blood drinkers. For those of you who do not know, blood drinkers have a blood drink ability that basically is a ranged ability with something around like 10 yards, 15 yards, something like that. And it drinks your blood. And so it causes you damage. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you keep a decent distance. You can run along the backside of here and then slow fall off into the water and then blink towards the tree. You can also blink through the tree, but it's probably quicker just to blink through the water to try to get to the tree quicker. And then we're like a normal ZG pool for the rest of it. And so we're going to come over here. We're going to aggro the mob with a counter spell. You can jump off the top here with slow fall, or you can jump off the bottom, whichever you like to do, but you want to jump towards this island. These crocs, as long as you still have the slow fall, you can blink past. You can Nova them right here if you wanted to, or you can just drag them up the hill, whichever you want to do. If they are too close where they're going to hit you, I recommend Noving. Now here is where your swim speed pots are going to come in handy. There's a berserker that pats into Jindo's room on the left here, and then comes back down here and pats all the way over here. If he is anywhere past basically these bamboo sticks right here, you need to hard cut into the water. And so you can get as close as you can to him pretty much before aggroing him, and then hard cut into the water with slow fall. But if you can't get far enough down this path, what you do is you pop swim speed potion. This is going to drastically increase your swim speed to the point where you're basically mounted running through the water. You're flying past the mobs, even the fish, and you're good to go to safety. But if the berserker is not there like this, what we can do is we can run down this way, blink down the straightaway, and then we can just slow fall off. And this is kind of like best case scenario where the berserker is not there. Otherwise, you just jump off the hill earlier, pop your swim speed potion, and then you can get right through there. Since we don't use lip, since we don't need lip because we know that we activated the Axler pat before we started the run, we're good to go. We don't need to worry about using a lip. We don't need to worry about saving the potion, and we can use the swim speed if we need to. We then jump over the tree. Now I want to show you exactly how we did that. Right on the right side of this tree is another root, and that root is elevated from the water. However, if you aim towards the corner and the barrier between the water and this tree itself, you can actually jump up and jump on the top of this root and then just run over, and you're safe and good to go. Now, one thing I want to mention while we go over here and while we have some downtime till we do our next jump, we're going to be doing 2 jumps into the water and then blink across, and we're going to aggro this group, is mana conservation. Mana is going to be huge. Mana is the big thing here because the Panthers have like 20,000 life, right? That's way more. That's basically 5 times the amount of a ZF mob, right? Tons of health. And so you have to be very mana conservative. One of the best ways to be mana conservative is to maximize your MP5. The way that mana works is that it ticks at its maximum amount, and you can kind of see that in the middle of the screen with my MP5 counter. it ticks at its maximum amount every 5 seconds, every 2 seconds after a 5-second downtime. If you cast a spell, wait 5 seconds, it'll tick at its maximum duration, and it'll tick every 2 seconds. Otherwise, it's only going to tick for the amount of MP5 you have or mana regen while casting. So what you want to do is you want to batch together your spells. When you blink, you want to reapply Ice Barrier. That way you don't need to cast anything again. When you slow fall, you want Ice Barrier. You want to do all those things at the same time so that when you're not needing to use an ability, you're not just randomly casting slow fall or randomly casting Ice Barrier or blink or things like that, or any kind of mana shield or other things like that. You're not wasting that, duration that you could have. But now that we've gone over the mana conservation, we jump onto this pillar. Under this tooth right here, this tusk, whatever it is, this is another reset spot. And so here what we can do is you can wait here and you can bandage or just regen a little bit of mana before you start jumping down to the bottom. Then what you want to do is you want to jump up onto this root. I accidentally overshot it here, and then you slow fall off the ledge. So you would typically jump on the root and it would get you all the way over to the water. But I unfortunately got hit by a Hooktooth Frenzy, but that's fine. Counterspell the group to the right and then run into the croc group on the left and then blink. What you want to do is you want to take a couple hits from the front ones, but let the back ones run towards you so that when you blink, you're actually blinking past them and can just jump Nova and just get them stuck. But here you're going to see me batch my abilities. So I use Mage Armor and then blink. I didn't cast Mage Armor earlier. I didn't try to cast Mage or blink earlier or anything like that. I waited until I had both and I was able to use both, and then I casted them. That way I'm getting the maximum amount of mana back as I go to this bridge. But now the fun begins. And so a lot of people have been, skipping out on this farm because it's very mana intense, and so they don't think that they have enough mana. But there's been a recent change which has made this a lot easier, and that change has been the fact that the Blade of Eternal Darkness has had its drop rate increased. For those of you who weren't there in the stream for the past, 5 months ago or whatever when we were farming it like crazy, Blade of Eternal Darkness is a dagger that drops off of Princess, and it gives you 100 mana back and deals 100 mana towards another mob with about a 10% proc rate if it's a direct damaging spell. So it won't work with channeled spells, so it doesn't work with Blizzard, but Arcane Explosion, Cone of Cold, Flame Strike, Frostbolt, Fireball, anything like that, it's going to work. So what we do is we actually leverage it in this farm to have infinite mana. And I spend the first little bit of the farm until I get a clear casting proc just regenning mana. So you saw us come over with about 40% mana. What we're doing is that we are rank 1 blizzarding as they come towards us. Then we fire blast while we jump up to the rope, and then we flame strike with a rank 1 flame strike, and you can see all the plus 100 mana ticks coming across the screen at the bottom. Once we get a clear cast, though, we want to take out the cubs. And so the cubs are going to be kind of abandoned their existence if you're trying to do the flame strike strat, because they could run by you and go try to aggro more mobs. So what we do here is that as soon as we're ready for it, we just swap over to, trying to burn down the cubs. As long as you have a blizzard going at pretty much all times, the cubs will not run away. Once they're dead, though, we're going back into the mana regen strat, and we're going to also heal up. So the cubs are dead. We can see that in frags. If you don't have details, I highly recommend getting that. You can get frags, and then what you can do is you can keep track of when the cubs are dead. There's going to be 6 unless you didn't aggro 1 or 2. But if all of them are dying and you did an extra like 500 damage, they're pretty much probably all dead. From there, though, what you want to do is you want to rank 1 blizzard when they come towards you and fire blast with a rank 1 fire blast at the end as you're jumping up to the rope. The reason you do that is you want to try to proc a clear casting. Proccing a clear casting obviously could happen off Blizzard, but by doing that rank 1 Fire Blast, you have an additional chance to get that clear casting proc at about 20%. The Blood Drinkers can be a pain and can cast their Blood Siphon ability off their own friendly parties. You can see it right there with the green kind of thing right there. If they do that, and especially if they're up on the bridge, try to sheep them. Unfortunately, they can also break out of it real quick because they're technically taking damage. And so I go ahead and I sheep this outside one. He still swims down below me, but I go for a block just to make sure that I don't take any damage from their physical abilities. So that's kind of how you can handle that if you need to. But the majority of the time, you're not going to need to worry about that too much. Just don't let the mobs get too close to you, or else they will hit their blood drink on you, as you see with that absorb, and potentially interrupt your blizzard. But the main strategy is rank 1 blizzard when they come towards you, fire blast unless you have the clear casting proc as you jump up, and then max rank blizzard when they go away from you. Now, I only do this though when I'm good to go on mana. And so what I'm doing before that is I'm switching out the max rank blizzard with a rank 1 fire or flame strike and that's feeding me back mana as I go. So I just keep on blizzarding them as they come towards me. I do the Fire Blast and I jump up. No clear casting. Go for rank 1 Flame Strike. Rank 1 Flame Strike procs, and you can see all the plus 100 manas at the bottom. It is doing damage to the mobs as well, so they are getting lower. But you can see that when I kill the Crocs, I'm going to have like 80% mana. It's incredible. Now, the reason you want to have all this mana is that when a mob dies with loot on it, it has 5 minutes before it despawns. And so in the event that you kill the Crocs, but then it takes you 20 minutes to kill the Panthers, you're not going to be able to get the loot from the Crocs. And the Crocs are going to be the majority of the loot that you're going to get. So you don't want to miss out on those Cloud Keepers or anything like that. That's why you want to take a little bit. But you can see now that I'm starting the kill phase. Once those Crocs get low, I start the kill phase and I go into my kill rotation. Kill rotation is the exact same as the non-kill rotation, except that we don't use rank 1 Flame Strike anymore. Instead, we use max rank Blizzard. So when they're coming towards us, rank 1 Blizzard, Fire Blast, jump up on the thing, max rank Blizzard when they're running away from us. Try to make sure that they all get clipped with a slow before you switch. That's something that's actually really important, and a lot of people miss out on that, is that there might be a mob in the back right here, for example, this Blood Drinker, that won't get slowed immediately. But we need to make sure that he gets hit by this Blizzard slow before we jump back up. Otherwise, he's just going to sprint right back down. So you want to make sure that all of the mobs are getting clipped by Blizzard before you switch directions. Otherwise, it can kind of be a pain. But we just go back and forth like this. I have plenty of mana. They're now at 9,000 life, which is basically the same as a Croc. And I have 65% mana, which is basically the same amount of mana that I would have had during a standard 11-pack pool. But now I have all these extra mobs. And so now I'm just using my mana gem, going back and forth and blizzarding, and it's pretty easy to get down the kill. Now, the reason why the 17 pack is so desired is, one, you're killing more mobs. On average, if you pull it properly, you're going to have 22 additional Panthers. You could also have, in addition to that, 8 potential snakes. So that's an additional 30 mobs. Those mobs do give half the experience of a Croc or a Tiger. However, that is still 30 additional mobs giving a ton of experience. And if you have an individual person that you're boosting, so just one person in your group, they could get upwards of 160 to 170,000 experience per hour from your boosting them. That also means that you can then charge more for your runs. So for example, most servers, are going for about 35 gold for solo in 11 pack, maybe 30 gold, 30 to 35 gold. If you include the Panthers, and then if you also do mistresses at the end, but probably don't recommend doing mistresses, and I'll talk about that in just a second. You're then looking at the potential of charging upwards of 40 to 50 gold per run for a solo clear. And for, 3 people, maybe 20 gold. So you're getting an extra like 15 gold per run. And if you look at the timer that it's taking us, it's about 15 to 16 minutes per run. So it's not like we're really hitting the lockouts any quicker, right? We could do 8-minute runs of 11 packs, which would be great, but then we're locked out. And we're still hitting that like 4 per hour threshold, if we're continuing to do this over and over. And so 4 per hour would be at perfect efficiency, 15 minutes per run. So we're only 1 or 2 minutes behind that perfect efficiency. This is probably going to be a good strat. Now, the reason why I don't do mistresses, and shout out to Zegers who does, he's a madman, is that I find that you need a lot of, kind of cooldowns to do that. And so with me doing the flame strikes, for example, I would not be able to loot the mistresses. I take a while to do flame strikes. I'm just going to pause it for just for a second. I take a while to do flame strikes to get back mana, and so I'm not going to get as much, damage off. And so the mistresses, they'll die pretty early, and then I won't be able to loot them. They might be a little bit more XP, but the mistresses are probably only going to be, about 3,000 additional XP. You also then have to pop a limited invulnerability potion, so that's an extra 4 gold cost. So for me, it's not worth it. But if you want to go for mistresses, you want to go for the 20 pack plus pools. Those are awesome, and shout out to Zegers because they're incredible. You can go for those. But I personally stick with 17 pack because I find that, it gives you the most bang for your buck if you have the gear and if you have the dagger, for example, if you need mana, or if you just bring a ton of consumes. It's a great option to boost. Once you get down all the Panthers going back and forth like that, you see we have plenty of mana. We didn't even use a mana gem. You jump off the bridge. You come over here, jump up at the tree just like you did before. You can go up the left side as well. And then you jump into the corner, and here's where you can reset all the mobs. Be careful though, because although it might say you're out of combat, when this drops combat, the blood drinkers actually will not despawn. And so when you come over here, you're actually going to see the blood drinkers still up. And if you run over to them, you can aggro them. it just takes a little bit for them to reset just to go back to where they started. So just make sure that you kind of take your time, make sure that they aren't there before you actually start looting. Overall, though, you can see that we killed 43 crocs, 22 panthers, 6 tigers, and 6 cubs. So that's what, 71, 77? 77 total mobs and a toad. So it's a ton of mob count for the potential of getting good drops. You're going to make more gold. I mean, simply, you're going to make more gold with this farm. You're going through the same amount of time per hour for the runs, but you're also having extra additional loot tables. You're getting more bijous, you're getting more coins, and you're going to be able to charge your boosties more because you're getting them more experience. The requirements, as I said before, you need some pots potentially. But if you notice, the only thing that I actually used as far as a consumable during this run was, I think I actually used 1 greater mana potion, but outside of that, 3 or 4 light feathers, and that was it. It's not like you need some crazy consumes. If you want to up your game, if you want to go a little bit faster, definitely get those extra consumes, get those MP5 gears, get the MP5 pieces and whatnot. Otherwise, though, you just want to have like 6,000, 7,000 mana. If you have 5 piece T2, that's going to be the best. Obviously, with more blizzard room, it's going to be great. Can also, cause some problems if mobs are on the side. Sometimes they can get clipped, but the majority of the time, 5 piece T2 is going to be very beneficial for you. But this farm is amazing. It's so much fun, and it is a great application of the Blade of Eternal Darkness, which is now, I believe, a 2% drop rate off Princess. I personally got it in 15 kills on one toon and 20 kills on another. All right, everyone, that wraps up today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, please subscribe and leave a like and a comment below to let me know so. And if you guys have any other ideas for any other videos, please let me know in the comments below. Also, check out the description for the Twitch where I do all this live, and also for my Twitter and Discord where you guys can be notified of any future updates and when I'm going to go live on stream. So I'll see you guys in the next video.